Public can also participate in this meeting via WebEx technology. The Burlington School Committee will hear public comments in person and virtually. Meetings are also broadcast live on Burlington Cable Access TV, and video audio recordings are being made. The access code is 2344-467-5996, and the password is Tuesday. Let's all stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So the next item is the approval of the warrant. Anyone would like to make a motion to approve as written?
So moved.
And a second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm in favor, so it's 500. Okay. Next up is public participation. And again, people can participate either in person or via WebEx. And just want to remind everybody that there's a 3-minute limit, and we'll let you know when you're getting close to the end. Anybody here in the audience who would like to participate? Oh. And do you see any hands up? I'm going to give it one more minute in case so we don't miss anyone. Good? Okay. So the next is information reports. And I'm going to find out if there are any subcommittee reports. Anybody have anything they want to report on? Mr. Foss?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only to announce, or I guess announce that the town-wide DEI subcommittee will meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It is a virtual meeting. Information can be found on the town website. All are welcome.
Thank you. And Ms. Simon, did I see your hand up as well, or no? Ms.
Didn't have
Massaro,
any
nothing?
subcommittee.
Anyone else? And is our student representative here tonight, do you know, Brooke?
No, spring track is a hard time.
All righty, well, that one was easy. Ways and Means. Mr. Riggs?
Roger,
Roger,
can
can
we just check dates?
Would you, just because we've been moving them around a little bit, and again, I know I'm responsible for that, but I just want to make sure people are aware. There's not a full Ways and Means, we're not presenting to the full Ways and Means tomorrow evening, is that correct?
Correct. Not tomorrow. That one's on May 4th, which is a week away.
Okay, and then we have a Ways and Means Subcommittee on Tuesday, May 3rd at 5:30.
Correct. In the meeting room there.
That'll be in the small conference room. Again, that's Tuesday.
I reschedule it in the main meeting room where others would like it to be hybrid. We'll take package of the facilities there.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. There was a breakup in the sound.
He's going to be hybrid.
Okay.
But we're
Going to be present in the facility here, correct, Roger?
Yes. I'd like to do it in person, but one of our members is can all attend virtually, so.
Yeah.
Will it be in
Meeting room or in that meeting room? In
Probably
the
in
other
small-
one, okay.
Whatever it's easiest, where
Thank
we
you.
can set it up. And then, so that's again, Tuesday, May 3rd, 5:30 is Ways and Means, then 7:30 is Capital Budget, that's in the Town Hall Annex. Then Wednesday, May 4th, I believe it's at 7 o'clock, Roger.
Yes.
The full Ways and Means, and that's the, is that the full budget, Roger, or that capital warrants?
That's everything, operating budget, special ed, under capital warrants, and the Shashi and ethics.
So that's on May 4th. And then town meeting starts on May 11th, May 9th.
It does.
Any more questions on that? Anything else, Mr. Riggs?
Roger, thank you.
Okay. So our next item is the FY23 budget. Dr. Conti?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in your packets, this is the fiscal '23 budget review and budget wrap-up. This is when the budget stops being a district working document and becomes the school committee's budget for fiscal '23. Again, we'll answer any final questions the committee has, but what's required tonight is a vote to have a public hearing on the budget, and then the school committee would take any public comment, and then we would close the public hearing, and then we would need 4 individual votes for operating salaries, operating expenses, total operating budget, and then the special education accommodated. So the budget you're seeing before you is coming in at guideline. And that was the guideline that we discussed, which is the 3.75% increase at the start of the year. So again, if there's any discussion ahead of the public hearing, we can certainly have that, but my suggestion, Madam Chair, is to open the public hearing to discuss the fiscal '23 budget, and if there's no public comment, we can close the public hearing and then move on to the vote.
I have a question.
Ms. Monaco has a question.
We don't really know, like, what you decided on, where all this stands. You want to do that in the budget hearing?
I'm not sure what the question is, what all stands.
Well, our budget came in more than what our guidelines allowed.
Right.
So what have you decided on to leave in, take out?
I think what we are keeping in is roughly around $420,000 for new salaries. We haven't decided what that is yet because we don't have any budget certainty. We're hoping to settle the teacher's contract and then work with the dollar amounts that we have.
So you're not going to give us a more finalized budget?
I don't think I can at this point because
It's just basically we're going to vote on an amount of money then?
you are going to vote an amount of money that's a guideline, and then we have to make that work.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You know the positions that we would add, you've seen those positions, we can't add all of them.
Right.
The positions that we would be adding is coming from that list, and I think we've been paring that down, but without any budget certainty, I don't think it makes sense for us to identify positions and not be able to follow through with those positions.
Okay.
So at this point, we're going to have a public hearing, correct?
Yes, you have to get a motion for a public hearing.
Okay.
I move we enter into a public hearing for the purposes of discussing the FY23 school budget.
I'll second that.
Okay. And
I need a vote.
let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? I'm in favor, 500. Okay. So now we're going to vote on the operating salaries, correct? Or we're having discussion? Let's just discuss it. Anyone have any questions? Any questions from the public? You see any hands up over there? Anyone in the audience? No one from the school committee?
I guess I already asked my question.
I had one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
This was brought to my attention. Just someone, out of curiosity, was looking but could not find and wanted to know, does the district still purchase Fountas and Pinnell curriculum materials?
I saw that question.
Yeah.
Fountain, I probably have to get an answer. What I think the answer is, but I want to confirm, is I believe we use Fountas and Pinnell books, but we don't use the curriculum.
Okay.
Because the books are actually, they're very good books, but we don't believe in the Fountas and Pinnell way of teaching literacy.
Gotcha.
So if that makes any sense at all.
It does.
So
I'll try to find the question.
I think we like the, again, we like the texts, but don't necessarily like the system.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I just want to elaborate on that. Kyle brought up,
should put her mic up close. You should.
So the question was, will the district continue to fund Fountas and Pinnell? Previous year's budgets have listed that group by name. This year's budget does not, but requests tens of thousands of dollars for guided reading in Heinemann, the publisher of F&P. Ed Reports 2020 determined that F&P does not meet expectations. Mass DESE has labeled F&P as low-quality materials and has said that districts currently using these materials will receive priority if they apply for a grant to replace these low-quality materials. Is the requested funding for guided reading in Heinemann in this year's budget for F&P? Maybe you can find all that out and let us know?
I will. We'll do some reading, get some reading detail.
Would
but
you like me to send you this?
You can. And again, I will reiterate, we are not using the Fountas and Pinnell system, but I do believe we use some of their books.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for remembering, Kyle.
Yes.
Thank you for looking up the question.
Madam Chair, there's a raised hand.
Yes. Who, I can't see who it is.
User on WebEx, Diana Marcus, has her hand raised.
Ms. Marcus?
Hi, Diana Marcus. I just have a question. The rate of inflation, in other words, the extent to which the things that we purchase has gone up significantly more in the last year than the guideline. And my understanding is that principals were asked to do a level funded, not a level service budget. Can you tell me what it is that we've had to cut or remove from the budget that we're currently doing for our students, given the fact that in real dollars, we have less money to spend under this budget than we have in the past?
Thank you.
Ms. Marcus, I'm not sure I agree that principals were asked. I think they came in, we did ask for a level services budget. Some budgets came in over guideline, many came in level funded. So we believe that we can provide equal services to fiscal 22 and fiscal 23 with the budget that we're asking for. I don't have an answer for your specific question as to where or what things we reduced, but we feel like we can offer an equivalent program. We obviously are watching our costs carefully.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. Anyone else have any other comments on that? Questions? Okay, thank you. So at this point, we're voting on the operating?
No.
Okay, all right. Motion to close the public hearing,
I so moved.
And a second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I'm in favor, 500. So the next thing we're going to do is vote on the operating salaries.
Packet.
All right.
And the numbers are in, Madam Chair, the numbers are in your packet. You'll see the four numbers, the operating budget, the operational budget, the total, and then the accommodated account. So we do require 4 votes to move the budget forward.
I move that the school committee vote to approve the FY '23 school budget operating salaries in the amount of $51,992,231.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm in favor, so it's 500.
I move that the school committee approve the FY '23 school budget operating expenses in the amount of $7,546,897.
I second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm in favor, 500.
I move the school committee approve the FY '23 school budget total operating budget meaning the combination of the two votes we just took, in the amount of $59,539,128.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm in favor of 500.
I move that the school committee approve the FY '23 special education portion of the accommodated account, which is the only part that we have say over, in the amount of $12,873,799.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair's in favor, 500.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So now this is the school committee budget that'll be presented to the full Ways and Means and then town meeting on, in a couple weeks.
I'd like to make a
Yes.
comment.
Yes, Ms. Simon?
I want to thank Dr. Conti and all of, is this what you were going to say, Chris? And all of the people who spent months putting together this budget. I know Nicole Kasha helped everyone do it. I know all the building principals and other department managers had a lot of work to do to put the budget together. You know, the guideline was not too bad this year, but obviously we see a need for more than what we put into this budget, and people were careful with the money, and I just want to thank everybody for the work that they put into this.
Thank you.
Chris?
Anyone else have any, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to ask Dr. Conti, as you figure out what we can do and what we can't do to keep us informed so we know what's going on with it.
Of course, and when we finally have a number, we'll prioritize the positions, and again, there shouldn't be any surprises there, but we'll let you know what the positions we are adding. Again, I don't want to complicate things, but we are, next year's guideline is going to be important because our federal relief dollars that we are utilizing this year will no longer be available to us. So I think fiscal '24 will be, not to look past fiscal '23 because we're just in the middle of it, but I think we'll have more discussions about that moving forward.
Was there anyone else? Ms. Massardo, did you have a question or comment? We're all set then? Okay, so next item is the capital warrant articles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, for those of you, again, who've, again, been through this process before, the town identified a dollar amount typically through free cash that is available, and Bob worked off of the 10-year capital plan, along with other needs that come up just in the course of having some older buildings, and he put together the following warrant articles that are in front of you. So, Bob, with that, if we could go through some of the warrant articles, or go through all of the warrant articles, I think that would be great.
Okay. Well, thank you to the chair. So first up, the numbers that are presented here are the numbers that are ordered sequentially for myself or organizational, but not the numbers that are represented in the town meeting warrant backup. So by the time I put these together, I need to know which ones I'm putting materials with, and then we submit them to town, and based on what other projects they organize them. So the numbers don't match on purpose, right? That being said, number one, so 23-1 would be Francis Wyman Playground. I know it's been a conversation in the past numerous times about the condition of the existing playground. Some donated materials from 1996 that originally came from Simons Park. Others are wooden structures that, while were donated to us, have definitely seen their useful life and are now on the border of becoming a dangerous environment for the kids. So as you can see, there's some illustrations. There is a subcommittee that has worked with this playground company to come up with some drawings. This subcommittee has been in place for almost a full year. It does consist of an assistant principal and 2 staff members, but the remaining 12 members are parents. So they're parents in Fox Hill. I'm sorry, parents in Francis Wyman. Okay, so these are the recommendations that were put forward after numerous drawings, numerous conversations, numerous in-person meetings. While it doesn't show it in the color one, on the bottom one, you'll see that there is an upper and a lower playground, so that this is going to be removing the existing playground equipment that's there, disposing of that, and then installing new playground equipment in both locations, upper and lower. You'll see that it's broken down into approximately $172,000 in material and $90,000 in labor. Not sure if there are any questions on that, or
Ms. Simon?
On the first page of the backup material, is that the current playground, or is that the new one?
that's a proposed
That's a-
new
A
drawing.
drama, okay, and then the second page, okay. And I just, I'm showing how old my kids are because I remember the new playground at Francis Wyman in 1996, but it's been a very long time, and I'm sure it needs it. So, again, I didn't have a huge amount of time to look through this, but I assume that there were parents of students with special needs on the committee, and that this will be an ADA accessible and appropriate, and with all of the visual and auditory kinds, sensory kinds of things. I think that the Parks and Rec started adding, I can't remember now, they're adding Braille to some of their district. So is this included in all of this material here?
So this, in this estimate through the chair, this does not include Braille. I know it was discussed, so that's not a finalized drawing.
Okay.
This is the estimate that that the committee had approved. It would be ADA compliant, as it would have to go through all the bidding process and all the permitting process through the town, so it would be ADA compliant as far as the structure and the material surface for the ground. But as far as anything Braille or whatnot, that would have to be finalized when we go out to bid.
Through the chair, so does anyone else remember what the thing is that Parks and Rec have added that we should be thinking about? Was
Yeah.
it something different than at Braille?
They were
Monica? What was it?
signboards.
A communication board.
The
Communication
communication
board.
board,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not included in this?
It's not included in the initial drawings as far as the equipment,
Okay.
no.
And I'd like to encourage that to be part of what they do, although if the committee had a reason for not including that, obviously I would defer to them, but it may be something that hadn't been thought of, and I would want to be sure that the committee had a chance to think about that.
Mhm.
We really committed to those, Ms. Simon, so we will be making sure that they get added. I'm just not sure they'll get added through this warrant, that's all.
Okay, all right, great.
Ms. Monaco?
I basically want to say the same thing that Martha said. It's really important to me that there be communication boards installed at all of our playgrounds. Real good communication boards that work. And I know we talked about it, and as Dr. Conti said, it may be under, a separate funding mechanism. I don't know the answer to that. When do you go to bid? When do you put out a request for proposals, if that's how it works?
Once we secure funding, or at least we're on the track to secure funding.
And when do you expect to do that? And assuming this is approved at town meeting, when do you expect to go out to bid, and when do you expect this playground to be underway?
Depending on the companies, as you know right now, supply and materials are tough to come by, and I think that changes weekly. Once we were to secure funding, I think we would have a finalized meeting with the subcommittee for the playground, make sure we're getting the equipment that we want, make sure that the price is up to date, go out to bid, and as soon as the company can do the install, I think because of the size of the playground, we could section it off and do, let's say, the top at one point and do the bottom at a different point. Ideally, during the summer would be the greatest, but since we get funding potentially May, that's not available till July 1. It does leave us a small window, since we really can't sign a deal and secure the actual job or the contract until July 1. But again, that's what we would plan for, is July 1 or during the summer to do the work.
And one last thing, as I recall, the last time the playground was done at Francis Wyman, it was kind of a novel idea. It had a lot of interesting kinds of plantings and self-sustaining something or other. I don't remember the details, but is all that going? That's all being eliminated?
There is some additional site work and prep work that, working with the rec department, who is also a member of the subcommittee, that we would plan to do some prep work there. But we don't really want to look to take away any trees or plantings. We really want to look to make sure that the grades for the grass and any hills are accommodating, in any areas that have rough areas or intros into walkways. We just want to make sure they're accessible. But we're not looking to take away any trees or shrubberies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Massardo?
I think you answered this a little bit, but how do we decide which playground, like, do we have like a list of playgrounds in order that they get replaced? Or how do we decide when playgrounds get updated?
So we don't have a particular list that focuses just on playgrounds. We do look at the age of the playgrounds, the equipment that's there. We work with the rec department, the recreation department, as far as maintaining those. So we kind of have a knowledge of which parts are harder to come by, which parts are wearing out more, which parts are in need of replacement. But again, as long as the equipment passes visual inspection, it's safe to be on. We try to maintain it as long as possible. You know, there really is there's no written rule that says it must be replaced in 10 years or so forth.
One other question, it says capacity 75 to 150. Do you know how that compares to the other elementary school playgrounds?
I think the capacity, if you're looking at it, is on, that's on one of the structured areas. We're not talking upper and lower.
Okay,
So I think that you're looking at on the lower playground where you see that number.
okay,
So depending on that, this would be comparatively the size of approximately of Simon's Park, but again, spread out across the two areas. And then we have a larger surface of grass in between. So we don't expect, 75 kids on one slide at the same exact
yeah,
time.
no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Sorry, just one.
Yes.
Please. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kuna, you might have already explained this, so excuse me if you have. I'm just looking at the last page of the backup for this, and it says the site work, 350,000? But the request is 290, so can you just set me straight?
Two separate companies.
Oh, so that's just, I see, and so the other, that's just like a comparison compared to the New England Recreation Group?
Yep, so
Or-
it's, again, through the chair, sorry.
Please.
So the first quote is a company that's on the state bid list
Uh-huh.
to come out and provide us with the equipment and their labor on the state bid list. The second company is not on the state bid list, but for them to give us an estimate if we were to go out to bid for comparative, and for them to provide all of the site work. The rec department has committed to doing some of the site work as well too, which would reduce some of our cost.
I see.
And then going off the state bid list would give us some lower cost.
That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, we want to discuss each one of them and then vote each separately? We want to vote on each one individually as we go along?
Again,
I know people wanted to kind of get additional information, so.
yeah, so again, Madam Chair, I think what we've done in the past is typically discuss them all and then
And then we'll
just go
vote.
and
Okay,
go through and
sounds
go
good,
to them
right.
all. So if that's,
So let's go to the
Prioritized.
computer science for all, CS for all curriculum supplies.
Thank you. So 3 years ago, we started an initiative through the state, and thankfully, this board, along with town meeting, supported a CS for All initiative at the middle school level. This is an expansion of that, which would then provide peripherals, which would provide coding and robotic equipment for our elementary levels. And it would just allow us to expand our CS for All into lower grades. That's the full explanation, but I can again go.
So
deeper if
again,
needed.
Madam Chair, many of you joined after COVID, but the more senior members will probably tell you they're tired of me talking about expanding of computer science and algorithmic thinking into our curriculum. This is a continuation of that effort. Again, we initiated this at the middle school level, and I think we're going to have some more conversation this evening about an Innovation Pathways program at the high school. This is really the trying to equip the elementary schools so that we can incorporate more computer science into the elementary instruction. So there's a list of materials that we would be purchasing to help, again, students get some knowledge exposure on there as part of the CS for All program that we're building K through 12.
I recall there was a presentation and discussion on that a few meetings ago, so. Anyone else have any questions, or Ms. Massardo?
I'm just looking at the quantities, and some of this is like 2 or 1 or 3. So is some of it going to one elementary school?
Ms. Pissardo, I don't exactly know the answer to that, but I'm assuming they're going to develop kits like the Science Center, and the kits would travel from school to school and be available?
Ms. Monaco?
I will never get tired of you talking about expanding the computer science opportunities.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you. Any more comments?
I will just say that my kids at Pine Glen get small tastes of this with Mr. Donoff and other programs, and they come home just wide-eyed and loving it, so I am very comfortable supporting this. I think it's great.
Thank you. All right. So next item to look at is HVAC controller upgrade.
Okay. So 23-3 is an HVAC controller. In the past three previous warrant article requests, in previous years, you've seen we've replaced boilers at the middle school. We replaced the HVAC system at the middle school in 2004, did our renovation of the middle school in 2012. This is the controller for the software, which would be the last part of the HVAC. So it officially became end of life at the beginning of this year. And while it is still functioning, it is no longer supported. There are no longer upgrades for it. And of course, that means when something is end of life, that finding parts for it become scarce and a lot harder to do that. So by replacing this controller now, it future-proofs our system. And again, hopefully should be the last thing we look at as far as HVAC goes. Maybe some common repairs here and there, but as far as large ticket items for the middle school for the foreseeable, 10 to 15 years. So.
Any questions from anyone? Okay. So let's go on to the next one, Pine Glen bathroom repairs.
Right. Again, as most of you know, Pine Glen is a 50-year-old plus building. While we maintain our buildings, as you see, tremendously, there are just things that we like to get the most life out of as possible. I think you've heard me make some jokes before that little kids in bathrooms and Ames aren't necessarily the best. So as you see that some of the materials are steel, you'll see that they're definitely rusting. While we've sanded them, painted them, and so forth, materials are rotted, materials are starting to crack in certain places, and fixtures are old as well too. So this is not going to be to rehab every single bathroom, every square inch, floors and everything. This is going to look at the problem areas in those bathrooms and then repair them. So.
Madam Chair, the only thing I'd like to add is doing regular bathroom renovation is something that's important to us. The committee has seen that, and we definitely feel that the better the bathroom condition, the more the students take care of the bathrooms. And I think it's just a respectful commitment that we've made to maintaining our bathrooms.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Simon?
Yeah, I was wondering, given that I read the report about the high school and how we're out of compliance with bathrooms and ADA requirements, will these furnishings and installations and upgrades be ADA compliant in terms of size and doors and all those heights of things?
Great question. So every time we replace a fixture that's, let's say, a toilet, yes, we would make that ADA compliant. What we're actually asking for in here is to replace some of the partitions in the bathrooms, which again would then make those bathrooms either the ones that are existing compliance maintained or the ones that are not. We would put new partitions in them to make them compliant, which would mean any type of grab handles needed. Doors would be wider, so they would meet ADA compliance, yes.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foss?
I was just going to make a bad joke at that. This is not as fun to talk about as CS for All, but that's just as important.
Ms. Massaro, I'm sorry, I thought maybe you, no, you're good. All right, anyone else? Okay. I think we're done talking about toilets. How about Pine Glen HVAC?
So this is a twofold question. Again, 50-year-old building, so we have an existing system, which is boiler, and that provides forced hot water to all of our classrooms where we have univents. As you know, our univents, we've spent a lot of time maintaining them and upgrading them, particularly during the pandemic, to make sure that they're working functionally and providing fresh air. What this would do is provide a secondary system, which not only would provide air conditioning, which also would provide independent room control for heat as well. So this would be adding split units throughout the whole entire building, which do have heat and AC capabilities and individual room control, which we lack right now in Pine Glen. So this would just give us a lot more flexibility, and especially in the hotter weather, provide cooler temperatures.
So, Madam Chair, Pine Glen in the hotter months is a challenging building just because it's a two-story, so the upper story at Pine Glen, just like the upper story at Francis Wyman, can be very hot. So this will certainly help alleviate that. The obvious question that we will all get is, does this mean we're keeping Pine Glen? So my belief is the school committee is committed to maintaining 4 elementary schools, and we're going to be moving forward. The reason you're seeing us invest in Pine Glen is we're serious about moving forward with the 4 schools and keeping those 4 schools operational. Even if Fox Hill were to move as quickly as possible, again, we're still talking, you know, Bob, what, 6 years? So it's not like we can wait to not do anything in these buildings. But I'm assuming that's going to be a question, is why are you investing over $500,000 in Pine Glen? It's because we want that building to function at a high capacity and continue to function as a 4th elementary school in town. So that's how we are operating, and if we get that wrong, the committee should make sure that you tell me that.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. Anyone have any questions or comments? Ms. Simon?
So, again, I just had a chance to read it tonight, but it looks to me that they're going to be it says roof-mounted heat pumps, and are those electric heat pumps, which is what you're calling a split, so it will provide both AC and heat, depending on the time of year. Is that what those are, those air source heat pumps? Is that what those are?
Again, through the chair, we have not gone out to bid yet on this, but we haven't decided whether or not the spec would be a natural gas or an electric version. But yes, still a split unit with a head unit in the classroom, a remote unit or a condenser unit either on the roof or outside of the building, supply fed through copper piping, and then capability of either cooling and or heat.
So that's available with natural gas as well? Oh, okay. So is there something that we can do as a committee to request that it be electric heat pumps rather than using more fossil fuels?
Yeah, I mean, electric is definitely the most common way to go. But again, I'm just saying, like, we have not put the bid specs out officially. So again, what you're looking for right now is just what you're looking at right now is the estimate, you know, that we asked our engineer to put together, and the estimates that we were provided from just by HVAC companies. So again, if you are requesting that, yes, when it's bid time, 100% we can focus on electric equipment.
Does that need to be in the bid? in the RFP?
It would
I
have to
mean,
be a preference,
Uh-huh.
so that way the vendors would
Okay,
give us quotes on electric equipment, yes.
I'd like to see that.
But we could also ask for an alternative as well, too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Monaco?
Bob, do these replace the Univents or work with them?
They work with them. So if
Okay.
either one was to fail, you'd still have a failover, just for heat. So the Univents right now currently don't provide air conditioning.
Right, so this system would do both.
This
Yeah,
would
do
mimic,
both if needed, but it would do AC at any rate.
this would mimic exactly what looks like, what Francis Wyman looks like, where we have the boiler unit in the basement, where we have Univents in the classroom, and then we have a head unit in the classroom that provides air conditioning, unit on the roof, and then if need be, we can provide additional regulation of air for heat with that same unit.
I think it's a good idea, because, especially because of what we went through with COVID, you know, having the ability to regulate the air is an important factor, so adding it into what's already there, besides the air conditioning, is a good idea. I would be, like Martha, curious about the, when it comes to that point in time, when you're, you know, when you're doing the bid documents, I'd be curious about the gas versus electric and the cost difference, et cetera. So I look forward to that conversation at a later date.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go on to the next one, the Burlington Sports Field Master Plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bob, I'll just take a stab at this, and you can correct me. Ms. Massardo, it sort of gets to your point earlier, is instead of randomly fixing, maintaining, reconstructing athletic fields, we would like someone to look at all of our fields holistically and then put together a plan to move forward. So do we need a baseball field? Do we need a softball field? What's the priority? Where are they? How much room do we have? So we wanted to bring out an expert to look at all of that. And then, obviously, this is just the initial cost of providing that plan. And then as we continue on, we would be utilizing that plan then to make sure that we are providing efficient upgrades and of our athletic facilities moving forward. So that's what the sports field master plan is. Bob, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing is that it says sports field, but this also includes facilities such as the Ice Palace. So it's not just grass fields, it's not just turf fields.
Ice House?
That's a
Ice
good piece
Palace.
to know. The Ice Palace.
Oh,
Palace,
yeah,
yeah.
it's Palace.
The BIP.
Yes, I didn't hear the
The
first
bit.
three letters. I heard house. I have a question. That's
Ms.
okay.
Monaco?
I know that there were a lot of unhappy parents around the inability of the girls to play softball on fields at the end of March, beginning of April. And I know that's all rec department directed, and they decide when to release the fields. I just know that we're unhappy people. So will this look at the possibility of adding any softball fields? And will it, if we use this plan, once it's designed, are these facilities that would be under the direction of the rec department as they currently are?
Couple of questions there, so I will try to decipher them. First is that some of the fields in here are not fully under the supervision of the rec department. So
Some of
that
the
means
school fields.
summer school fields, yes. And then second would be, this, as it's written right now, does not include any new studies on fields that we don't have. But there is a $7,000 contingency built into this for additional work, in case there is additional work that comes up during it. So could we ask for something else in this? Yes, or possibly yes. But right now, the study does not take into consideration possible new fields It's just looking at our existing fields, gauging the condition of them, looking at any repairs, looking at a 10-year plan, what should happen down the line, looking at some priorities and giving us basically a checklist of what we should look at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Massardo?
Just adding to what you said, so it says it will evaluate the adequacy, so it would say like you don't have enough fields, right?
So, yes, but again, it's not right now designed to say, I think you should purchase a piece of land and then put a 400-person stadium for baseball in there. Basically, if we have, let's say, 13 softball teams but only 2 fields, it would look at our schedule and say, based on the schedule, people have to play until 10 o'clock at night. Having another field would, maybe eliminate some of that late night and spread out, the playtime. But again, that's just a recommendation based on a schedule, not necessarily telling us, where in Burlington would be a good place to put that field.
And there's a contingency to ask for that.
Yeah, so basically it's 63,000 for the existing work as is, and then there's additional work that could be quoted out either hourly or at a package price. So that's why it's rounded up to $70,000 to include any additional work that we didn't foresee once we get into the study.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other, Ms. Simon?
So can you explain, because we share fields with Parks and Rec and we share maintenance with Parks and Recs, what the relationship of Park and Rec is to this warrant article?
I believe, just through past conversations that I've had, is that general maintenance is typically picked up and considered part of the daily work schedule of the Recreation Department. I think expansions that come at the request of the school department, unless a conversation is had with the Recreation Department, is generally looked upon as funded by the school department. The Recreation Department is aware of this. They would be interested in the results and the data of, from this as well too. But again, as far as what the Recreation Department deems as a necessity versus maybe what our athletic director deems as a necessity, could be different. So we're going to look at this from a school perspective, but approach it collectively with the Recreation Department and any funding and whatnot, whether through school committee or town meeting, would be a conversation that we would have.
Again,
Thank
through
you.
the chair, Ms. Simon, again, I had a brief conversation with Brenda, and I'm going to follow up. My belief is they'll be supporting this at town meeting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments? Questions?
Just one quick one.
Ms. Monaco?
Does this include all the fields, not just the school fields?
Yes. Yeah, there's a list on,
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is the BHS music floor reconstruction.
I'm going to take my best shot at this one, and at the request of the music director, Mr. Middleton, this is something that I was unaware of until we had some conversations. Our music room, our band room, our chorus room have step-down platforms in them from when this building was designed in 1972. So that being said, while they're still desirable in some situations, they're not as desirable for day-to-day, everyday operations. What that means is that A, they're not accessible for everybody to get up and down the platforms. B, because the platforms are only a certain width, they cater more towards standing up and singing as opposed to instruments and/or maneuverability around, the classroom. So the proposal is to have an engineer come in, have that engineer look at the existing structure of the room, provide support to then fill in those step-down rooms and make the room level. Again, this sounds new to me as well, but there are actually companies doing this. There are new schools being built that have this, and there are schools in Massachusetts as close as Everett that just last year did this in 2 of their classrooms. So we spoke to their engineer, we spoke to, their music department, and again, it's, I'm not saying it's a new trend, I'm just saying this is something that is definitely favorable for, the day-to-day classrooms as opposed to just a single function. So what this proposal is basically, like I said, engineering, a lot of concrete, filling in the room, and making both the band room and the chorus room flat as opposed to step down for teaching. So,
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Ms. Massardo?
I think I have the same question, but basically, my understanding is the high school needs a lot of different renovations, like lockers, science, et cetera. How did this one get to the top?
this one addresses like an immediate need that, for accessibility alone, the music rooms are not accessible.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, Ms. Simon?
So I think I do support this, but again, I would like to know if we're able to move forward with the high school renovation, how does this fit in? Is this the kind of thing that if we had a master plan for the big high school renovation, would it be part of it? And is it something that if we do it separately, is that going to work with the rest of a renovation? Is my question clear? Okay.
It's very clear. I have not proposed this to, let's say, MSBA. If we were to be MSBA funded, I'm not positive that this would be considered essential as opposed to whether functionality or whatnot. As far as bringing it up to code, there is sections in the proposal and the feasibility study which do address this, which include either putting in a ramp, filling it in, or putting in a mechanical lift, which would be either an elevator to address that. All of those are more costly than what this floor proposal would be for both rooms.
To the chair, if I could
Thank
follow
you.
up.
Yes.
So if we do this now separately, would it work with the other kinds of renovations that we might like to see? That's more my question. Is there any reason, like, would it have to be redone or any of that, you know what I'm saying?
So if we did this renovation, we would have to do it to code. So this whole renovation would then have to be up to code. We would have to move electrical. We would have to move any type of heating systems that are in the lower areas right now. The engineering would be complete. It would be ADA compliant. And then, like I said, the new electrical would have to be installed at grade level now as opposed to below grade level. So again, this would be a section in the feasibility study that we would cross off and not look at moving forward.
Okay, so this warrant article includes all the code, up-to-code things that would need to be put in?
Just for the two rooms.
For those two rooms, I'm
Correct.
sorry. For those two, for the space where this project would happen,
Yes.
it would be brought up to code. Thank you, that's great.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Next is the Foxhill Portables repairs.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. Bob can get into specifics, but again, Fox Hill needs to function as a school for another 6 or 7 years. The portables need some renovation to get us to bridge that time. So we're trying to do as little as we possibly can, but as well as we possibly can. So go ahead, Bob, if you want to talk about what the project entails, that would be great.
So the easiest part is that the portables are more than 15 years old. When we got them, they were already used, 15 years here in Burlington. They're wood construction, and the roof has been repaired by us more than 11 times in the past, like 5 years alone since I've been up here. That being said, 90,000 of this is just to replace the whole entire roof. The reason we're looking to replace the whole entire roof is the second part. There are 3 HVAC units on the roof. 10 plus years ago, one of them was not working. We didn't replace it just because we didn't think that we were gonna have these portables as long as we do. 5 or 6 years ago, the second one stopped working. We didn't replace it. And this year we are down to just 1 unit. In order to supplement heat, we installed baseboard electric heating in those portables to help bring the heat up. Right now, we don't have that 3rd unit, so we only have baseboard heating in there. So that's the second part. So in order to do the roof, we would rip off the existing units that are on there, be left with holes in the roof. And then we also have 2 other areas of the roof that are rotted and or need to be replaced. And the square footage of the roof made more sense to replace the whole thing than to patch 3/4 of it with just repairs. So it's 90,000 in roof, it's about 42,000, I'm sorry, in HVAC system to replace the current HVAC system in there. And then just due to wear and tear and/or some of the leaks that have happened over time, the 2 spots of the floor are started to dry rot, but this rug on top of it has seen better days. So it's about $10,000 to replace the carpet and fix the flooring in the 2 spots.
How much was towards the HVAC again?
42,000?
Right. And again, hopefully, if we move forward with the Fox Hill School, right?
Yep.
Is there a way to recycle those HVAC units?
There is.
Okay.
So HVAC system, this would be a split unit as well too, with 2 head units in the classrooms. We believe that we definitely could take this off. We probably would need some copper piping and so forth, maybe some electrical, but we could reuse this in an area with the 2 heads and the compression unit.
Or if something broke somewhere else, we could, okay. Because, it's a lot of money to spend for 5 years or 5.5 years, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
But-
Anyone else have any questions?
But please, if I could just not reassure, but make everyone aware that we just have baseboard heating right now in that, the whole portable unit.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
Right.
expensive.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Next one is scoreboards for the sports fields.
So again, this is getting ahead of the master plan, but this is definitely something that not only youth sports have looked for, but our high school sports and middle school sports have looked for as well. So we're looking at 3 scoreboards, one which is a multi-sport for the middle school, and then 2 baseball fields, one for Marvin Field and one for Francis Wyman. We play on these fields all the time. We don't have scoreboards there now, but it's definitely something, like I said, that athletics director, along with youth sports, could benefit from using, and that's to request 3 scoreboards.
Ms. Basardo?
Have we looked at sponsorships to pay for some of these?
Yes and no. I know that this is a conversation that comes up frequently, and I know that we have had conversations about looking for sponsorship. I do not have any secured sponsorship, but it's definitely something that we would continue to look for. So I guess if anyone who's watching is aware of companies that are looking to sponsor this a large amount of money, or any amounts of money, I will gladly pursue it.
Okay.
Again, Ms. Masordo, through the chair, when Varsity Field was done, the school committee did create there's a policy that was created for the naming, and I'll pull that up to make sure you all get that, in terms of length of time of the sponsorship, when it needs to be renewed. So there were some details that were discussed for the Varsity Field scoreboard. These scoreboards will just make the fields more usable. So sometimes the middle school field isn't utilized because there's not a scoreboard. So this would give some relief to do that. And obviously, it's connected to the bleachers, which is another warrant article here too. So we figure with the scoreboard and bleachers, we can have more better use of that field at the middle school. So not to steal Bob's thunder coming up, but I'll make sure the school committee gets the policy, and it might be something that we could even look to do after the fact if people want to contribute or put their name on a scoreboard. You all have decided how to do that in the past.
And Ms. Simon, I know you had a question.
So, I just wanted to be clear, these are fields that get used by the town, the Parks and Rec, as well as, and other town teams, not just by the schools. Is that accurate?
It is accurate.
Okay.
It is my understanding that the Recreation Department themselves doesn't have organized, let's say, baseball as maybe like a Burlington Youth Baseball would run that,
Okay.
or like a Burlington Youth Lacrosse or soccer.
So-
But yes, Recreation does use these fields along with youth programs, outside programs, and our, school athletics as well.
So it would be a benefit to other town organizations, not just to the schools.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Monaco?
I just want to address, through the chair, the point of the issue of sponsorship. We kind of agreed to sponsorship with the Varsity Field School Board, but we've always resisted that because of kind of the look of advertising on school property. You know, if you have every field with a different scoreboard with somebody's name on it, or 5 names on it, or, I think it's up to the school committee as a whole to decide whether they want to do that, or whether, like in this case, I think the amount of money is quite reasonable for 3 separate fields to cover. Personally, I wouldn't want to have names plastered all over the fields. I'd rather have the school department supply the scoreboards. That's just my opinion, I'm only one.
Thank you, Ms. Monaco. Anyone else have a comment on that? Okay. Let's go to the next item, which is the activity bus and utility vehicles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe this is 2 activity buses, and Bob can discuss the utility vehicle. This year especially, the issues that we had with transportation were exacerbated because we had trouble, the bus company had trouble finding bus drivers. We felt like we wanted to do even some special programming for students, where we were needing to borrow vans from lab to get our students to certain places. There are some of our smaller teams, golf teams, cross-country teams, again, other small student activities where having vans that are available for us to use for student transport just is much more efficient and makes sense. So these buses would be utilized taking students into the community. So I know that there's high interest from our special education department. I know there's high interest from our athletic department. So these would not just be athletic, for use by athletic teams. This would be utilized for any student activity across the district. Bob, these can be driven by, you don't need a CDL license to drive these.
You do not. Nope.
So again, you can have a regular license to drive these vehicles. So again, this is, these 2 vehicles are of particular importance to me just because we were having to say no to some programming because we just couldn't get the kids there, and that just seems like that was frustrating. So this will help us address that. Bob, the utility vehicle is because the one we have now is worn out, and we just need to get to the football stadium and back, the varsity field and back? Is that?
I mean, that's part of it. So yes, we have a John Deere tractor or utility vehicle that was purchased when we did the field 12 years ago. It's seen 12 years of light abuse and then heart abuse, which is a good thing because we want to use our equipment. So our maintenance shop uses it, whether to prepare the fields. We use it for, moving equipment back and forth a lot. And again, everyone realizes that this is a large property, but those vehicles are also able to be driven on local roads as well too. So we could use it for snow plowing, not the main streets, but I'm saying we can use it between other buildings. We can use it to go to, our other schools. We can use it on other properties. But ultimately, like I said, it's really a benefit to have that here, just moving equipment back and forth from, let's say, the school to the varsity field or other areas of this property here at the high school. But the benefits to all of our schools would be huge as well too. So.
Thank you. And Ms. Monaco?
How many people would this vehicle hold?
So we're looking at 2 different models. One would either be a 2-seater utility truck, or one would be a 4-seater utility. It's not a truck. They are utility vehicles, but they make one which is a 4-seater that has a dump body in the back. But then they make a smaller one that has a 2-seater up front with a dump body in the back. So really, it just comes down to inventory.
So you're not talking about transporting a bunch of people?
We're talking, again,
Oh, two different
two
things,
different
sorry.
vehicles. So the utility vehicle Bob was talking about is for maintenance of this facility and the school facilities.
Right.
The activity buses I were talking about were 12-passenger Is that correct?
14 passenger.
14
Oh,
passengers,
okay.
so those are both 14 passenger
So would
buses.
they be used for things like bringing the eighth graders over to visit the high school for tours? And would they be used for bringing sports teams that are meeting at the high school, not meeting at the middle school, bring them from the high school so they're not all driving with, you know, fellow students, which I consider somewhat, sometimes, not the safest approach?
I can't say exactly what they'd be utilized for. We would utilize them for whatever we could. So if they were available to do that, yes, but I'm more seeing them if we have a cross-country meet and we can't get a school bus to take the kids there, the team would fit on one of these and we could get them to their meet instead of having them not attend. We have life skills programming where kids go out into the community. We could utilize this van instead of teachers using their own personal cars to do that transportation. And so we could fit whole programs and have those programs benefit. So is it possible that we're transporting kids from the high school to the middle school? Yes, but it would be based on availability and need. And I would, again, we would look for utilization during the day to support our programming, and then utilization whenever we needed it.
I brought up those two specific instances because I know there are parents who would like their eighth graders to tour the high school before they have to decide whether to go to the high school, go apply to Shawsheen, or consider a private school. And I plan to support this article, but I would like to plant the seed that that would be a good use of the vehicle. And also, as far as kids getting over to Marshall Simons, there are times when it's too cold, too wet, too something to walk, and I think it's an issue for a lot of parents. I know it's certainly an issue for me whenever I see kids that are piling into cars to do that. I would like a safer way to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Monaco. Anyone else have a comment? Okay, Ms. Simon first.
I have two comments. One is I see these, are we talking about one 14-passenger? Two
Two.
14-passenger vans plus the utility vehicle.
Correct.
I support that, the passenger van, well, both of them, but I support the passenger vans a lot for a couple of reasons. One is because I know we have these sports teams that are smaller and having trouble getting buses, and we want to make sure they get there. However, I'm particularly attached to having run a program for life skills in another high school. The idea of having a van available to drive kids to their community connections is really crucial. It's really important for kids to be getting out. And we're in Burlington, and we have we're fortunate that we have all these businesses and community organizations and the hospital and all those things that we are able to use, but if we can't get our students there, we can't use them. And I think having the flexibility that these vans would provide us is really important. We're trying to build our life skills program here at the high school, and I think, one of the important things for students who are in school beyond age 18 is looking at careers and looking at jobs, and this is a really, really important thing. So I think that's a really important idea, and I'm really glad that this made it to the request for a capital budget this year. In terms of the utility vehicle, and I'm probably not picturing it exactly, but again, I can picture, can we get electric utility vehicles if they're small things that are going back and forth from the maintenance from the garage or the maintenance up here down to the football field? Could we start purchasing an electric vehicle? I know they also need to be charged, so maybe next year we could put on the capital warrant to get an electric charging station, but in the meantime, maybe they could be charged at town hall, et cetera. I don't, there's details, but is it at all possible for us to purchase an electric vehicle for the utility vehicle in particular, although certainly the other ones, I don't know what is available for the other ones.
If I could just comment on that, please. So yes, it's definitely something that we're considering. The pricing that you have here right in front of you is showing gas, basically only because talking to Ford in North America, right now they have no 22 electric vehicles left, and they don't look to produce any until later on in the year. Ford is not the only company. Ford is on the state bid list. We also looked at Dodge and, believe it or not, Mercedes. They're all comparatively about the same price. But as you know, there's a national shortage on parts, chips. So again, once we are to go out to bid and look in the future, definitely electric is an option. Again, not a promise, but it's an option, and then we'll have to see again what's available in a timely manner and what fits in our budget. But yes, definitely something that we would look at.
That's great, thank you.
Mr. Foss, I thought you had a question too.
It has been answered, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment or question? Okay, thank you. The next item is bleachers at Marshall Simons Middle School field.
Again, just gave a bit of a preview to the committee. Thank you, Madam Chair. We are trying to make the middle school field more usable for both high school sports and for, obviously for youth sports. If there are stands and a scoreboard, we feel that that field can help offload some of the events taking place at Varsity Field. So, and parents have been requesting bleachers there for quite a while.
Anyone else have any comments or questions on that? I know I would have appreciated that many years ago, on that field. Okay. Let's go on to the next one is visitor control access system.
So this is a system which you'll see if you were to visit many schools around Massachusetts. It's not the only system, but School Pass is very popular. Basically what it is that when guests come into the building, you have the option to link it either into, again, I don't want to scare people right off the bat, you could link it into, let's say, publicly known police databases if there are no trespassers that you don't want in your school system. But ultimately what it's for is really to give a visual, take a picture of somebody, print a usable pass that they could then wear as a visitor. But then it could also provide access in and out to our system. So what it's really looking for us to do is when somebody comes into our system right now, while they may sign in, we don't really have any way to visualize that they are a visitor. I know here at the high school and then at our elementary schools, middle school, we do print out little visitor stickers. But that's really it. It just says visitor and then maybe has a date on it and whatnot. What this would do actually is identify that person, put a picture, similar to the badges that we give to staff members, so you actually know who the person is. And then, like I said, if we had our own list of users that we were to not allow on the building, if somebody were to come in that matches that description or matches that name, then that system would across the district then come up as a do not allow onto the premise or allow into the building as a visitor.
Through the chair, again, most schools that I visit, just in the course of doing the job, you have to sign in and show a license and get a picture taken using one of these systems. So they're very common. This isn't. I think we're the outlier here by not having it.
Are those visitor passes dated? Have you seen them?
I have seen them.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a kiosk system that we would put, let's say, either in our main office or even up here in central office. Like when somebody comes in, they sign in. And then what would happen is we would ask that person to stand in front of the kiosk, either take a picture of themselves, scan a license, or any other forms of identification that we could verify. We would print their name on it, and we can decide what we need to print, but that kiosk would have a built-in printer. And then not only is that person's face in our system, but also, again, printed on that tag as a visitor when they go around the building.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Monaco?
Is this for one building, more than one building?
All of our buildings.
Wow. So every time a parent goes into an elementary school, whether they're known or unknown, they still go through this process?
I would say yes. I guess that would be the intention of the system. Now, how we implement it, of course, would either be through local policy or what we foresee, but I think the whole point of having a system that says someone's a visitor and identifying them would be, yes, that they would wear that badge, so we know that they're a visitor.
And this amount of money covers all of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Looks pretty reasonable. Any other questions or comments on that?
I will just say that as a parent walking into elementary school, I was surprised to not have any sort of badge or anything beyond just signing in. So I really like this. It says QR code for faster sign in or out. So I imagine picking up. I just scan my QR code like at the gym type of thing and go to aftercare or something like that. So I like it.
And once you're in the system, if somebody was to then return back, either visually and or by typing their name in, it would come back up again. So, oh, here's Bob. Yep, that's Bob. Press print. Here you go. So again, that system is definitely, it's utilized a lot in other districts, and it's definitely something that we should look at here.
Well, I agree. Any other comments on that? Okay. So at this point, I know that we wanted to just go through each and review each and every one of them. Do you all have a preference on, you're comfortable now that you've heard everything to go ahead and vote? Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, Ms. Monaco, I have a question.
Bob, I don't get the sense these are prioritized. Does
They
it-
are
maybe it
not.
doesn't matter.
They're not prioritized in a particular order. I know in previous years,
Yeah.
we would have a larger request than the funding available to us. So then we would reduce in order to meet that number. This year, we were fortunate to have a larger number that fit well into our requests. So again, they're numbered in the order that I was given from vendors' materials.
Got it.
So then as I finished the material, then I would move on to the next one. So they're not prioritized.
I just have a little bit of concern when we go to other, like Ways and Means, capital budget, et cetera, that maybe we should have an understanding of priority, not that it really matters, but like, in my mind, I'm prioritizing as I go through them, you know, well, this is more important than that, and that's more important than this. So it was just a question, but I am also prepared to vote on this if you want to do that.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Anyone would like to make a motion to approve the Francis Wyman Playground as presented and discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
In the past, we've included in our motion the Article 23-1.
Yeah,
So I'd like
these-
to encourage us to include that in the motion.
Are these actually the right numbers for the book?
It's not the numbers for the book, it's the numbers, like I said, for local here at the school committee.
Okay.
I can get you the numbers for the book if you want.
No,
Isn't
that's all right.
that's not the numbers in the warrant?
Nope.
So I'm just going to go through them as they're listed here. And
Again, through the chair, we don't print the warrant,
I know.
so that's
I know.
the,
I didn't see him in there.
So
Oh.
we probably don't need to use the numbers then if it's not the same numbers that are in the warrant. Okay.
All right.
all right. So
Yeah.
let's try this
Oh, I
again.
have him here.
Yeah,
Playground is 7-12.
Let me see that.
Do you want those motions?
yeah.
All right.
Well, if you feel confident that will match up properly? Because if we're not confident, maybe we should vote it without the number.
Yeah, why don't we vote them without?
Let's without the numbers.
Okay.
Because, I mean, verbally, we're stating what they are,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back. Anyone want to make a motion to approve the Francis Wyman Playground as presented this evening
In the amount of.
in the amount of $290,000?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
I move that we recommend to town meeting that they fund the computer science for all in the amount of $150,000.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
You want to do it, Carl?
You want to do the next one, Carl?
Sure. I move that we, what are we on,
Approve.
HVAC?
HVAC, yeah.
Approve the HVAC controller upgrade in the amount of $108,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500. Number 4, Pine Glen bathroom repairs. Is there a motion to approve as presented this evening for $65,000?
I move that we ask town meeting to approve the warrant article for Pine Glen bathroom repairs in the amount of $65,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500. Next item to make a motion on is the Pine Glen HVAC for $500,000.
I move that we approve the Pine Glen HVAC repairs in the amount of, it's not repairs, is it? Installation, thank you, in the amount of $500,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
I move that we ask town meeting to approve the warrant article for Burlington Sports Field Master Plan in the amount of $70,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500. Next item is the BHS music floor reconstruction for $450,000. Any motion?
I move that we ask town meeting to approve the Burlington High School music floor reconstruction in the amount of $450,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
I move we ask town meeting to approve our warrant article for Fox Hill Portables repair in the amount of $160,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
I move that we ask town meeting to approve the warrant article for scoreboards for the sports fields in the amount of $110,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
I move we bring to town meeting this warrant article for the activity bus and utility vehicle for their approval in the amount of $110,000.
I think it's
No.
145.
145.
Oh, wait, did I go the wrong way?
Yes.
$145?
Mm-hmm. I think
For
there might be a t- there-
$145,000.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh.
Chairs in favor, 500. Next item is bleachers for the Marshall Simons Middle School. A motion?
I move that we bring to town meeting the warrant article for middle school field bleachers in the amount of $220,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
That's the correct amount.
Next item is the visitor control access system. Any motion?
I move that we bring to town meeting the warrant article for visitor control access system in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairs in favor, 500.
So I have two questions. One is that we did have a number of 110,000 on this other
Yes,
backup.
that's a
Yeah.
So
mistake.
which is the correct number that we're requesting? Okay, I just didn't want to ask for more than we needed, so.
We'll- we'll-
Obviously, neither did I.
Yeah,
We'll make that correction.
okay. But I want to vote on it if it needs to be changed.
Okay.
So, and my other question is that in the past, and I actually need Mr. Cuna to, this may be something he can answer for me, but I know that in the past, we have started to replace many of our water fountains with water bottle fillers. And I thought that we were on a kind of schedule to be doing that. Is that included in another part of the budget, or is that something that would need to be in capital budget?
Through the chair, so we still have 2 open warrant articles, one that's almost depleted, one that is about 3/4 full. I think the pandemic set us back.
Okay.
We just ordered 6 of them about 2 months ago because there is a backlog, and we received those 6 within the past, let's say, week or 2. So we do have a plan to replace, continue that replacement, but during the pandemic, we were shutting down
Yeah.
and not supplying much water to the water filters, or to
Yes.
the water bubblers.
Okay, thank you, that's good to know. And so, do we have them, after those 6 are installed, will we have at least 1, or how many in each building? At least 2 in each building, or?
We already have more than 2 in each building right now.
Okay.
And we'll just continue replacing them. So these are not
Great.
new, these are replacing existing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Monaco, you had a question?
Yeah, Bob, the filters on those, how good are they? You know, with all this talk around town with the, whatever they are, PFAs or something, with, I don't know if I got that right or not, but do they filter those out?
The current filters do not filter PFAS. They do a lot of VOCs, they do lead, they do other like volatile chemicals, and a lot of sedimentary chemicals.
Yeah.
But they do not filter for PFAS. So I know the town is working on their full system to filter PFAS throughout our water treatment plants, which then will, feed our schools. But currently, our systems are not capable of, and there's not a filter that would sit in our existing systems. We do not have the capabilities right now to buy a single filter and replace it with the current filter that we're purchasing to filter PFAS.
You'd need a whole different system.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is learning.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and people have been very patient, so thank you all. Ms. Purchase and Mr. Walsh, if you guys could come up, that would be great. I know National History Day was here, that's my error. Ms. Sturdivant is going to be coming on May 10th, so we will be recognizing that performance. We just couldn't schedule it this evening, but we are honored to have Ms. Purchase and Mr. Walsh here to discuss the National Latin exam. And again, I appreciate your patience. It was a busy night for us, so thank you.
Thank you for having us. Many people say that Latin is a dead language, and those people have not been in Mr. Walsh's classroom at the middle school. So I'm going to let him, speak to the exam and the students, but I wanted to take a moment and recognize his hard work. World language at the middle school through the pandemic and the disruptions last year was one of the departments that was hit most in terms of the disruptions to the learning in order for us to keep social distancing in place. And despite those challenges, Mr. Walsh has done a fantastic job supporting the student learning of students. So I just want to commend him for his hard work. Really starts with the relationships that he builds in the classroom, and then he makes Latin fun, which I'm sure if you took Latin, at high school, you wish you had someone who made it fun. So without further ado, Mr. Walsh, I'll let you speak to the students who are very proud of.
Thank you very much, Ms. Purchase, Dr. Conti, the school committee for inviting me. I always like the opportunity to recognize the hard work of my students. A bit about the National Latin Exam itself is a 40-question multiple choice test that tests the students' knowledge on vocabulary, grammar, Roman history and culture, reading comprehension, kind of everything that we do. They start taking it at the middle school. They continue taking it as long as they're enrolled in Latin through the high school. The way that it works is they take it all over the world. They figure out kind of a baseline score you have to beat to win an award, and then they rank them as is. So first, while they didn't technically get an award, I have 4 students who hit that exact score. So I like to give them what I call the so close they could almost taste it awards. So with 30 out of 40 points, I'd like to congratulate Andrew Maniscalco, James Sarkeesian, Kayla Mackey, and Brenton Chu. Going up, the next level of awards called the Cum Laude Award, which translates to with praise. That is going to Nora Ahmed, Tuyen Nguyen, and Chase Jackman, all receiving that award. Our next level up, magna cum laude with great praise, will be going to Leo Emerson, Ava Preston, Logan DeGrassa, and Douglas Brindle. And the final, the highest level award achieved this year, maxima cum laude with the greatest praise, as well as achieving a silver medal. That will be going to Daniel Agati, Afsa Khalifa, Sloan Wilson, Cole Weisner, Chris Peckham, and Arushi Daima. So I'd like to offer my sincere congratulations to all of those. While I don't have the scores of the students at Burlington High School, I understand they also achieved a lot of success, and the World Language Department here has a blog that lists all of them. So I encourage everyone to please check that out as well.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
As a former Latin scholar, Mr. Walsh, I appreciate all the efforts, and it is not a dead language, Ms. Purchase. So not in Burlington. So
No.
it's alive and kicking. I know Mr. Stringer also works very closely with you, and I really like the collaboration between the middle school and the high school program, and I think that's really what builds interest as well and keeps kids interested in the program, and that takes a lot of work. So I do want to make sure that we thank you for all that you're putting in.
Thank you, Michael.
Anyone else have any comments? Ms. Massardo?
I just want to say congrats. I took the Latin exam twice also in high school, and I remember I went to a large high school. It was a giant room and very important exam, so congrats to all the students and the awards.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
I do. If you make Latin fun, you've got to be one special person. I'll tell you, the nuns I had in high school did not make it fun.
Well, as Ms. Burgess alluded to, I kind of thought of this, my experience as a Latin student in middle and high school, and tried to do the exact opposite. So
Very good plan.
it's been working out very well.
Very good plan. Congratulations. That's great. You're a real find to be able to work so well with kids that they enjoy it.
Yeah, and I was going to say thank you again, and I think it's so important to continue to keep Latin alive, because it is the base of all languages. And I know my daughter took Latin middle school through high school, and it helped her a lot with SATs, ACTs. When you know the root of words, it really can help out. So again, thank you, congratulations, and I'm very proud of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
You learned all about our warrant articles.
All right.
Shireen.
Next item. Go ahead, Dr. Conti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shireen Terrell is our high school computer science teacher. So again, we're going to be talking more about computer science and our Innovation Pathways program. Shireen, maybe you can talk a little bit about Innovation Pathways, just because it is such an honor, and I know it's a lot of work that you've undertaken to make sure that Burlington is recognized. Burlington does have an existing innovation pathway in computer science recognized by the state, and again, not every high school has that, so because of Shireen. Ms. Terrell, so thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to see all of you. Okay. And I have to just say, Mr. Stringer in the high school is also an incredible Latin teacher and makes it so much fun. So we do have a really terrific Latin program, and I'm proud to call him a colleague. Okay, the computer science pathway. I'm going to give a quick overview, and then with any of this, I can always elaborate and give you more information, but I'll keep it short for now, and then just ask questions. All right. So first thing, computer science in Burlington High School is absolutely a team effort. Really, all of the people in all of those departments are critical to ensuring kids are taking the classes, getting the right experience.
It's really a great partnership, and I'm really happy to be here in Burlington because everyone has really made it possible for this to happen. And I could go through the list of all the people, but it's late. But it just, all these departments absolutely are critical. Oh. One of the things we're trying to do with the Innovation Pathways is emphasize to kids that technology, it's a tool. It's about communicating, creating, and collaborating. So it's not just about a computer, but it's about what we can do with the computer. One of the things we found this year, we started a new program. It was the IT Girl Challenge in partnership with a company in Burlington, CGI. It was really spearheaded by a parent of a Burlington High School boy. And what I found was that because we have a stronger program in the 8th grade, I had a group of 9th grade girls who were ready to go. So it was really great this year. They did a great job. And we also started a BHS Girls in STEM Club as well. The girls came to me and they said, like, we want a voice, we want to do more. So it's been great to see the girls really take charge. Okay, so we're here to talk about actually getting money in, which is exciting. Go to the next slide. So grant-funded work. This year we're involved in 3 National Science Foundation funded programs, and they are really tied to our computer science pathway. So the first one, you see the 3 people, it's actually a computer science equity grant, which Dr. Conti knows about because it's thanks to his leadership that this grant exists. It's in partnership with MIT and different schools. We're all considered fellows. We're looking at how do we bring the best practices to our school to ensure equity and quality computer science. So that's one of the programs. The other one is looking at artificial intelligence and how do we bring that into an English curriculum and how do we expand kids' awareness of this new growing field, and that's in partnership with the Concord Consortium. And then the last one with a little computer with the chart, it's the Data Pathways Grant, which is has been really exciting. We have $45,000 over 3 years. The money is to fund curriculum development, teacher training, and the time it takes to actually develop this brand new program that hopefully will be a state and national model. Actually, DESE is part of the grant, so once we come up with what works, they can help disseminate it. So we're working in partnership with Chelsea Schools. And the idea is to bring data science first into social studies, into the civics requirement that every student has. We're helping them answer their questions by looking at data. So, you know, it's a small piece we're inserting. Chelsea has a different model. They actually have a whole course where students do a civics project and integrate data into it, but in our case, we're integrating it into the civics project. That's a piece of the year. So the department chair in social studies, Todd Witten, has been incredible, and again, everybody makes this happen. The other piece that's interesting is we noticed, well, I talked to Katie in the math department, and she was saying that the MCAS scores are somewhat a little bit lower when it comes to doing graphing. And so what she did is she took the elements where students are struggling and actually created a lesson for social studies, and she and Todd co-taught it. And so it was so exciting to see like these two fields coming together so that kids can be better civic-minded people and they can also improve their math knowledge. So it's been great. The other person involved is Holly in the science department and Krista in business. So part of this grant is to create 2 new courses, and one of them is in data visualization. So, you know, as you know, we're getting all this data, and to make sense of it, it's important and a well-paying skill. How do you make sense of the data and visually present it in a way that's meaningful? So Holly in science and Krista in business definitely see the applications for this and what they're doing, so they're helping to teach students how to use spreadsheets and then use Tableau. And the reason we chose Tableau was that in Boston Public Schools, they piloted this and they actually were able to find internships for students once they knew the skill, which is incredible. The last piece of it is to run a course using Python to pull data out of data structures, and that will be taught by Arshad in the math department. So as you can see, this one grant involves like every department, and it also involves, of course, the counseling. One thing I did want to mention with the equity piece, with that grant, one of the pieces was to have training for counselors, because really they're so instrumental in guiding students in terms of what they should take. So one of the counselors took a course and actually wrote some code, and afterwards she was like thrilled and she understood it and she like loved it, and she also saw how incredibly creative it was. So I think it started to shift her understanding of what kinds of students can really get a benefit from this kind of course. So I guess that's it for the data science. We're in year 2, so we're still working on that. The other grants were really from the state for an innovation pathway. The Innovation Pathway program, it's actually a program that was developed with 3 different branches of government, economic affairs, workforce development, and DESE. And the goal is to create really career development within an academic high school. And all of you know, it's so important for our kids to understand what they're learning is applicable to later on in life. It's important for them to learn work experience and get work experience. So the idea of this is to help kids kind of really connect the classroom to careers. In our particular case, our grant is for a pathway in computer science. So we've gotten funding year 1, we got $50,000, year 2, $26,000. Because of this grant, we were able to get that $250,000 in capital equipment, which has been incredibly important. We also had opportunity for a lot of professional development, again, for the counseling department, around how to create career plans, and we presented to the Mass STEM Summit as well. But the thing that's really innovative about this is our partnership with industry. So you could go to the next. So yes, it's really important that we have our partners and that we help kids understand that everything they're doing has a purpose. So I'm happy to say this year we have mentors working with students who are doing a 4th quarter project, a capstone project. So just an assortment of the mentors. I'm happy to say we have parents of students who are terrific, outstanding, and great leaders. You can go to the next. We have BHS alum, which is also extremely exciting, and a group of very talented, bright, hardworking, and caring individuals. So you've done well. They're a good group. I can go to the next. We also have been working with diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders. Danielle is at Teradyne, and the women of Teradyne came to us and put on an entire presentation for 50 girls. And then Khalil Smith is a VP at Akamai, and they're working on creating a video on the internet for us. So you can go. And then last but not least, through many contacts and begging and borrowing and asking friends to help out, we've managed to get mentors and speakers from a pretty large number of companies. And I will say, like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much that's possible. I mean, people are really excited about helping. I think Robert Riggs is still hopefully in the meeting. So this is the 3rd year we're really running this flipped internship, this capstone project, and Roger was a mentor the first couple of years. I have to say this year it's going the best ever. There's much more structure. I've really learned from doing it for a few years, so it's been a really great program, and the mentors are enthusiastic, and they actually love getting to know each other, which is kind of a cool benefit. So in terms of lessons and opportunities, I think the important thing that I see out of all this is that when kids are part of a pathway and it's classrooms connected to career, they have purpose. So hopefully they're more engaged and excited about what they're learning. I think it's important still that everyone has a chance to touch technology. So we're not there yet. But I think the data plus the data project helps. The classes that are pure computer science still don't mirror our entire population, so we do have an opportunity to keep working on that through the equity grant. Always room for more professional development. I found that other staff are really excited about bringing computer science into what they do, and they're not seeing it as a burden, but as a way to bring more meaning to their curriculum. And to that effect, we're really trying to connect technology to all the subjects so that it's not me and a few people teaching computer science over here, but that we're all like working together. And hopefully the result will be stronger scores and better college and career outcomes for all of our Burlington kids. So that's kind of a sum. Any questions?
Just a few comments. So again, I think Shireen undersells her efforts, so I'm saying she's been a tremendous leader here. I do believe, though, it is as a team effort, and there's been a lot of work at the middle school as well. I know Carrie just left, but there's a Girls Who Code club and a Python club that Ms. Marcus is running at the middle school. I think we were sort of looking at doing a lot of high school programming, clearly, but really driving interest at the middle. And I think your support of the elementary programming will again drive that interest further, and then making sure that we're moving forward. The counseling piece, as Shireen said, is huge, and the higher ed board and the state board, the K-12 board, have made an adjustment to Mass Core so that computer science courses can't count as math courses or science courses. So I think there's going to be more flexibility in terms of the skill. And Shireen, the work that you're talking about with Chelsea, that was also, it's being coordinated through Bunker Hill as a dual enrollment possibility as well. Is that what I remember?
Right, so the goal ultimately is to have the 2 data courses count as a dual enrollment course. Our partnership is with Middlesex Community, and most of our computer science courses have dual enrollment with that. Bunker Hill is the college we're working with to develop the courses, and Chelsea uses them for their dual enrollment. But yeah, some of those details do have to be ironed out, but that's the goal, dual enrollment. And because the studies show that when students get college credit in high school, they tend to continue on with college. And I will echo what you said about the middle school. The work that Diana's done has really helped. And again, I saw that with those girls, but we need more. So.
And again, I think the committee also saw a request for another computer science teacher for the high school that I'm hoping that we can bring to fruition as one of our limited choices moving forward.
Thank you, and thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Oh,
Ms. Massar, do you have a question?
I just have a comment that I work in healthcare technology. We're pretty heavily involved with Girls Who Code, but I also use Tableau almost every single day. So if we're hiring kids that come in with high school experience in Tableau, it would be huge.
Oh, okay, that's great to know, and I'll be calling you too.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Ms. Simon?
I just want to thank you again. It's been several years now that you've been working on this, and you've been expanding the program. And I know it's a team effort, and it's not just you, but I also know that you are a real driving force. And I really want to thank you because it's really amazing what kind of programming we have now, and the potential for more. And I believe you're the one who's been bringing in the money. So really appreciated that you do those things. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any comments? Ms. Monaco?
Just a quick thank you. It's so important to have a strong computer science area for our kids. I know my own kids and grandkids have all.
I know, I think I've had one of your grandkids, and yeah, I mean, and it's such a great subject, and it's so fun. Tommy?
Robbie, William, Tommy.
Yeah, William and Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fun subject to teach, I have to say. I know Latin is too, but it's fun, so.
Well, William's using the skills he learned.
That's great.
As a
Yeah, he's
therapist.
wonderful. He was wonderful. And Tommy's graduating this year, right?
He
And,
is.
yep.
He is.
I was going to say, I love watching how the program has grown and progressed so much. Since my daughter took your class, I don't remember, maybe 6 years ago, but she's graduating college this year, so.
Wow.
I know, hard to believe. But I do appreciate everything you're doing, and I'm just so excited how you're pulling in, the funding and how, girls and young women are moving ahead in technology. It's extremely important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you for supporting the program and understanding its importance. So you're part of the team. I should have put you on the slide, but I mean, honestly, thank you very much. So.
Anything else? All right, we're good. Thank you very much.
Shireen, thank you so much for your time this evening.
All right, next item is equity.
We're going to move very quickly through the next two items. Madam Chair, committee had asked just for more information. So the unified basketball team currently has a record of 1-0, so they're undefeated. The next game is tomorrow, Wednesday, April 27th. It's at the Vanilla Gym here at Burlington, and they are playing Lexington. So if any of you would like to see a game, again, tomorrow at 4, there's a game April 27th. And then Wednesday, May 11th is another home game. That's at 4:15, again at the Vanilla Gym, and that is against Belmont. And then Monday, May 23rd, I think right around that 4 o'clock time period is, again, Vanilla Gym against Melrose. So committee had asked for some dates. Those are 3 home dates. And again, if you can't make those, I'll find other ways, but, that's what's happening with the unified basketball team. Again, so currently undefeated. Madam Chair, just moving on, if that's okay,
Well,
unless anyone
Madam
has
Chair,
questions.
Fine with me, yeah, oh, sorry. Ms.
I'm
Simon.
sorry, Dr. Conti, before we move on from equity, I was wondering if you've been working on programming, scheduling a training for the school committee on DEI. We had talked about, we did it last year, and we had talked about doing it again this year, and I would like to know if there's been some progress on scheduling that.
We've talked about it. I haven't made progress. I think
Okay.
we had the election
Yep.
and then spring break, but we do have to schedule something. The school committee committed to that, and I will
Okay.
get something scheduled.
Thank you.
COVID?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to basically say we're in a holding pattern. I think the state is seeing some increased numbers of cases, but the hospitalizations are remaining low. And so we're just continuing to move forward. We're reporting in our weekly video the numbers of cases that we're seeing. They've been sort of relatively steady. We'll look at the cases after break, but we are dependent on self-reporting, as you know, so I can't tell you the accuracy or it's really been the honor system, and but I think people are settling into a more typical routine for the spring. I did just want to mention that the spring celebrations are back, because I know the school committee got a lot of emails about prom and other activities, and those are all being planned as normal. So if you're getting a call that something isn't running, I would like to hear about it, because I'm not aware of anything that is limited at this point due to anything that has to do with the pandemic. There may be other limitations. We can't find a bus driver, but I'm just saying the celebrations that students and parents are used to should be ongoing this spring. So I just wanted to make sure I stressed that.
Thank you. And next item is facilities and finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have some important meetings coming up tomorrow. So Bob, we're at the MSBA board meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Oh.
So if you, we can send you the link. If you haven't signed up, we can do that. Depending on availability, I was going to ask Ms. Bond or Mr. Foss, if you're not available at 10, I can't tell you when Burlington is going to come up. That's their board meeting, so it could be at 11, it could be right at 10, it could be whenever. They usually ask one person to speak, and if you're not available, again, I can speak in behalf of the town of Burlington and thank the treasurer and the MSBA board, if that's with your permission, I guess is what I would say.
Please.
Good
Okay.
plan.
Yes, that's a good plan.
All right, so
Try not to have it end in a restraining order.
I know. I'll try. I know. I'll be all right. So, so I'll take care of that. And then, Bob, there's the there was another meeting with the MSBA at 1 o'clock. That is that is the technical part of how to move forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's basically the feasibility orientation. Either for people that aren't familiar with it, haven't done a project in a long time, or any new intricacies of the MSBA procedures, they'll go over that tomorrow. at 1 o'clock with the Module 2 feasibility orientation.
So again, I'm assuming, let's assume everything goes well tomorrow, it would be sort of time then for us, I'm sure once we get through town meeting, to schedule another building committee meeting to go over that we are in the next phase, what that phase is, and then the feasibility is when we would be putting out RFPs for a project manager and at least initially, is that correct?
That is everything that I'm hoping is that we will get from the board meeting tomorrow, yes.
So, again, I know a question from the committee is going to be, when is the school building committee for Fox Hill going to be meeting? It really makes sense to wait until after tomorrow. And then once we get the training, we will host that. And again, this full committee is on the Fox Hill Building Committee. And again, we did discuss last meeting, and it's, again, next on the agenda is putting together a building committee for the high school. So I'm not sure if the full committee wants to serve on both, or whether people have an interest or whatever. We can certainly talk about that moving forward. But tomorrow is a big day for the Fox Hill project in terms of moving forward into the feasibility phase of the, again, of the project.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Massardo?
Can I get on those links?
Yes, I'll make sure. I think,
I can send the links to
yeah,
whoever.
please. I think people need to sign up for it, is that correct? It's not an active link, they need to be invited?
No, you have the link, and then you can get in.
What I'm
Is
saying
my
is, I think you need to sign up ahead of time. I'm not
Okay.
saying that well, but
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
we'll forward it to you, absolutely. I'm just saying, if you're like me, you can't just hit the link and get in at the last
I gotcha,
minute.
I
So
gotcha.
they're watching who
Okay.
who comes on.
You have to pre-register, I guess.
Yes. I
can do that.
Yeah, yeah. And Ms. Simon?
So since we have previously appointed all 5 members of the school committee for the Fox Hill School Committee, I'd like to know what procedure we might use so that we can appoint Melissa to be another member of the Fox Hill Building Committee, the School Building Committee. Melissa's not been appointed to it, and we also no longer have a chair for the School Building Committee since Mr. Murphy is no longer on the committee. So I would like to ask advice about how we go forward with that, because I think both of those are important.
Yeah, what we can do is we can talk to Brittany
Brittany,
from
MSBA.
our MSBA contact, just to ask what they would suggest. I think that
Okay.
would be the best thing to do, Ms. Simon, just so we don't
Good.
get a file of the MSBA.
What's her name?
Brittany Gomes
Brittany
is
Gomes,
our,
yep.
is basically our liaison.
Thank you. I think that's important.
Okay, thank you. Next one is BHS update.
So 2 things. As far as what Dr. Conti just mentioned, whether or not the board would like to tonight discuss either forming a school building committee for the high school, or if that's something to put on a further agenda. The other thing is that there's no new update as far as any plans going to the feasibility study, but there is a form that I have presented in front of all of you. With your support, I would like you all to allow me to submit a statement of interest for the Burlington High School for this year. If so, then we would need the form vote read as presented. And then, of course, we will have to submit those minutes into the MSBA along with our statement of interest, again, for the high school for 2023.
And through the chair, Mr. Cuna did attend the selectmen's meeting last night, and they voted the resolution as well. So again, for many of you, this is our 10th time doing this, so so be it resolved, having convened in an open meeting on April 26th, 2022, prior to the statement of interest submission closing date, the School Committee of Burlington, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated April 19th, 2021.
Is that accurate?
Is it 2022?
April 19th is correct, but 2020.
2022, for the Burlington High School located at 123 Cambridge Street, Burlington, Massachusetts, 01803, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority number 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. In priority number 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. The specific project will update classrooms and replace science labs to be a more effective learning environment, replaced aged-out heating and ventilation cooling equipment that is original construction from 1971, replace interior building components, lockers, lighting, fire alarm, etc., and provide updated security improvements which will extend the life of the existing facility, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Thank you.
So we need a
need
motion
it?
to
Yeah.
do what?
So I move to vote on that resolution.
To
To
do
vote
what with
to
it?
support that resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'm just trying to figure out if the
Do we need to
motion
read-
needs to say anything else. Do we need to vote both to approve it and submit it?
We will submit it with the minutes that we will get. Bob, when is it due?
The 30th, April 30th.
So we don't need to say and submit it?
No, you have to read it as presented, which you did.
And approve
You
it.
have to vote on it, and then the minutes from tonight will have to be submitted, stating that you all read this into public record and that you voted on it.
Okay, so there was a motion. I believe we had a second.
Right.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Chairs in favor, so 500. I'm sorry, what?
Ted, Tom was
Yes,
Let's hope
that's
so,
it.
huh?
Yes, let's hope.
Yeah,
All
don't
right.
hold your breath, Cal.
Okay, next, is there more that you'd like to
I
add?
just wanted to say this is number 11.
Oh.
Maybe that'll be the charm.
Okay. Next item is safe routes to school.
Um,
Any
be-
update?
Before we move on, I'd like to, I don't feel the need to establish a school building committee for the high school project tonight,
Not
but I
yet.
would like us to have an idea of how we might proceed with that. I don't know if Dr. Conti maybe could bring us back at a future meeting, maybe at our next meeting, sort of a proposal of how we might establish that. I know there are other districts that have had building projects that were not engaged with MSBA. I don't know if Burlington ever has. I know our last two were with MSBA. But would you be able to bring that back to us, Dr. Conti? And good, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Safe routes?
So again, I don't have an official update, except that I am in communication with Ms. Judy Crocker, reached out through some emails. We are trying to finalize dates at Memorial and Middle School for arrival and dismissal observations. And then we're just discussing a window in order to put a survey out.
Yeah, that was my next question, because I know we had discussed distributing the survey at the last meeting, and
Yeah, and again,
Okay.
2 weeks is a recommended window for it. Just really looking at dates to kind of lock it down and make sure that they can align well with parents collecting of the data, of course, and whether or not it coincides with the arrival and dismissal observations at the middle school and Memorial. So once I confirm those, again, I'll first confirm it with the principals of the building, and hopefully we can schedule those and either report back the dates or report back that we're in progress of having those observations.
Okay, if you could let me know when those dates are set up, that would be great. Thank you. And next is new business.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, wanted to discuss this evening the rebalancing of the elementary attendance zones. And we did have a parent meeting the Thursday evening prior to break. I think there were some parents' concerns expressed, as there always are when we are talking about rezoning in elementary school. Really, our objective here was to have Fox Hill return to a 4 homeroom school, K through 5, and Pine Glen sort of return to a 3-section school, K through 5 as well. Just some interesting history is when John Lyons first started at Pine Glen, he said he had 420 students at Pine Glen, and now he was sort of under 300. So we really need to make sure there's enough students at Pine Glen. And as you've heard consistently throughout the year, is we need some classroom space at Fox Hill. So we're joined this evening by Ms. Miliano. Robin, yeah, why don't you come on up? Robin has been instrumental in looking at all the data. She's very graciously spent her evening here with us, and I just want to make sure the committee has all the information. So at your seats, we showed the current homerooms at Fox Hill and at Pine Glen. And again, we wanted to show what that would look like moving students from the Avalon apartment complex from Fox Hill to Pine Glen. Both Mr. Rosenblatt and Mr. Lyons attended the parent meeting, and no one wants students to have to change where they're attending school, but I feel that this move will allow us to not make any other changes until the new Fox Hill comes online, when we would really need to look at all 4 elementary schools and really look at an entire town-wide redistricting of our elementary program. This does allow current 4th graders at Fox Hill to stay at Fox Hill to finish their elementary career there. There were some parents who had some very specific concerns regarding their children. I think we did commit to allowing them to petition to stay, and I think we need to look at that. And really what we said is if everyone petitioned to stay, then we couldn't do that. But if there were some individual cases where that would allow us to still function at 4 homerooms a grade, that would be, again, a possibility. We are still working out how we're going to provide transportation to those current 4th grade students who are going to 5th grade. I'd like to provide them transportation, even though typically with an out-of-zone we do not, but this is no fault of the families or the students. We don't believe, Bob, that we can run a bus from Avalon to Pine Glen, drop off the students, and then head to Fox Hill and make it back to Francis Wyman with enough time to make that viable. I also wanted to reassure the committee that we looked at lots of other options. Robin really scoured the Fox Hill neighborhoods. We just couldn't we couldn't change enough of the neighborhoods to get enough students to have an impact in terms of balancing out the schools without completely disrupting the transportation routes that we have and getting kids transported to the right places. So one of the parents did ask, are we sort of being singled out because we live in an apartment complex? And there is some truth to that. So I want to make sure I'm clear with the committee is that this adjustment, this rebalancing, gives us a high number of students in a relatively concentrated area where it doesn't disrupt all of our transportation. So that is something that I do want to acknowledge. And We have made these adjustments in the past, so people asked, you know, why have you done this? I certainly don't like to do it. We did move some students from Memorial to Fox Hill, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. Again, and it just all depends where the students are residing and where they're coming in. So we are continuing to communicate with the families. Again, we are looking at some individual cases. We are allowing fourth graders to stay, but would really like the school committee support to move forward with the rezoning of the Avalon apartment complex from Fox Hill to Pine Glen for the fall of next year. If you have, again, specific questions, Robin is here and can help answer those specific questions.
Any questions?
Is that
Ms.
the
Monaco?
apartment complex across from the? Is it the one across from the senior center?
No, Ms. Monaco, the Avalon Apartments is the one down Peach Orchard, down, all the way down Peach Orchard on the right-hand side, if you're heading down from
so
Wynn
it's
Street.
way down there.
Yeah.
So the one across from the senior center is already at Pine Glen, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other
Yeah.
questions for any
Inconvenient.
school committee members? Ms. Simon?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that it's very difficult for any family to be redistricted. And Ms. Massardo and I listened to the parents who did attend that meeting with Dr. Conti. And the one thing I would just say tonight is that I'm just so delighted that there are so many families who love Fox Hill that they don't want to move. And I also know that every family I've talked to from Pine Glen loves Pine Glen and would love to have their kids stay at Pine Glen. So I feel like it's disruptive, it's hard, it may be there may be specific things, but I feel like we have very good schools that parents are happy with. And I'm just pleased that there's all that liking of our school, and we want to stay with the people we know. So it's encouraging to me, and I want to thank all the staff and all the principals and all of those people who make that happen. I also want to thank Ms. Miliano for, I know you really scoured the districts to try to find alternate ways to do this, and it did seem that this is the way to go. So thank you.
I was going to make a comment too, and again, acknowledge the same thing, that the parents are very passionate about each of those schools. I'll say just from my own personal experience, I lived in Ohio. I went to 3 elementary schools in 4 years because they kept moving our neighborhood. And kids are a lot more resilient, I think, sometimes than we give them credit for. My only comment is, I know, you don't want to have like every fourth grader stay and there'll be decisions made, but is there a possibility if someone chooses to move and there's an issue, are they able to come back? If there's something serious, when there's a real adjustment issue?
I think we're willing to work with every family all the time. And one of the things that we looked at is, remember, we have families that are request a placement that's not in their current zone every year anyway. So when we looked at that, and Robin did a great job looking at that, the challenge was we have about an equal number of out-of-zone students in every school. So it's right around the mid-20s. So it wouldn't get us, even if we kicked every student out of Fox Hill who doesn't necessarily attend Fox Hill, that doesn't get us enough students. And even if we were to say no one could have a choice, we would basically be taking 25 kids from every school and moving them around. So there are, again, families who are choosing into Francis Wyman, choosing into Pine Glen, choosing into Fox Hill, and choosing into Memorial. And again, not anything we planned, but it seems to be very even.
Yeah, it's very even. I mean, we looked at it, it literally is 24 at one school, 26 at another school. I mean, it is right on. Pine Glen is a little bit lower, but again, it's our smaller school too. So, but if we put everybody back where they're zoned for, we're not gaining anything. We really aren't. And so we looked at so many different scenarios, and unfortunately, or fortunate, I don't. This group. you know, we are getting about 58 students that, you know, we're going to be moving. So I think that that's, you know, that's about what it will take to get Fox Hill down to a 4-section school. And it will help the numbers with Pine Glen as well.
Robin, can I impose on you to tell your personal story? Because I think you shared it that night with parents. And I thought it was very, again, it was very meaningful to me.
So I had shared with everybody at that meeting is when my oldest child, we went to Fox Hill for his kindergarten year, and then there was a redistricting, and we were redistricted to Pine Glen. And I was devastated. I was one of those parents. I told them I was sitting in your seat. And I was devastated. I expected that my children were going to be going to Fox Hill. That's where my neighborhood, you know, my friends' children had all gone. And, you know, we had a meeting with Steve Preston, who was the principal at the time, and he was wonderful and welcoming. And my 4 children all went to Pine Glen School and loved it. And as Dr. Conti says, no worse for wear. so there, no, but I mean, you know, we became part of that Pine Glen community very quickly. And as I said, my 4 children went there. I became very involved in the PTO there. And I have a real strong love for Pine Glen for my children to go in there. So, you know, but I totally understood where they're coming from, because I felt that, you know, I felt that angst of my child. He's already at Fox Hill, and that's where that's where he should be. But it all worked out for the best. So.
And Kristen, the parents were also very complimentary of you, so I want to make sure you know that too. They didn't want to leave Miss Downey either at Fox Hill. So, so that was they were very complimentary.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one.
Ms. Monaco.
Just want to say thanks to Robin. You always do such a great job at everything. But I know it's going to be hard for some people, although I'll add to your comment that Pine Glen is great. It really is a great little school. So, but thanks for figuring it all out.
Madam Chair, I guess I'm not sure if I need a school committee vote for rezoning. I think it would be helpful, but, and again, we are looking at trying to make exceptions when again, for individual student needs, but if we can't make 58 exceptions, so that's the dilemma that we are in.
So, Ms. Massardo.
I just wanted, because it was a small group at the middle school, so to share with other parents that may be listening. One parent there did suggest or ask that maybe the kids that got moved from Fox Hill to Pine Glen could be clustered together in classrooms so that they'd have friends and wouldn't feel the change as much. So hopefully we can honor that and at least do our best in that.
And I think that's a great idea, because I mentioned that I was moved all those times, and that's exactly what they did with us back then. So that's a great idea. Any other comments or questions? So, again, do we have any past history on what we've done when we've rezoned? Did we voted on it?
Yeah, we should have.
We should, okay. So does somebody want to make a motion in regards to the rezoning?
I move that we approve the rezoning of the Avalon Apartments from Fox Hill School to Pine Glen, beginning 22-23 school year.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, additional discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I'm in favor, so it's 5-0-0.
Thank you. There are, again, 2 other things. One is informational that I can do at the end. Ms. Simon, I did include the Outstanding School Partner Award nomination form, and I apologize, the copy I had, I scribbled something on it, so that's my fault. But again, this was meant to be informational, I believe, so through the chair, again.
Ms. Simon?
All right, so for those of you who know, there's an organization, a statewide organization called MASC, Massachusetts Association of School Committees. Every year they have a conference, which I hope some of the newer members would be able to attend if it works out with your work schedule. It's usually the first week in November. And they also have awards and nominations of various types. And I was looking through the booklet that we received this year and realized that they have an award for outstanding school partners. And after talking with Dr. Conti, I'd like to suggest that we perhaps put in a nomination for our Burlington Chamber of Commerce. They have been so helpful to us in helping us find the internships that we heard about tonight. And other areas. There have been donations for robotics, and there have been all kinds of ways that the Chamber of Commerce have helped us reach out to the businesses and the hospitals and the organizations in town. And so I'd like to suggest that we nominate the Burlington Chamber of Commerce for this award. We can, you can think about it, we can decide some other time, but just do it. So we can vote tonight, and then I will work with Dr. Conti to get the details about why, I just explained why, but I'll get some more of the specifics from Dr. Conti about the kinds of things that they've done to be so helpful to the school district. And I also know that with COVID, that the Chamber had a really difficult time the last couple of years, even staying afloat. And I just want to acknowledge and recognize them for all that they've done for the district.
Thank you,
So
Ms.
shall I
Simon, for
make a
bringing that forward.
motion?
Yeah, someone make a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate the Burlington Chamber of Commerce for the Outstanding School Partner Award given by the MASC for this year.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair's in favor, 500. All right.
Okay, Madam Chair, just the last thing at your desk is informational, not for discussion, but it will be an agenda item on the next school committee meeting. Agenda is, it was requested by the committee at the last meeting. Again, the important dates was to vote on the starting dates of the school calendar. It was asked if we could get some feedback. So again, just informational, and we will have an agenda item for discussion for next time. So the information that's at your desk is the results from the survey that we sent out. We got about 200 responses back. And then I incorporated those, that feedback, along with feedback from the Joint Labor Management Committee meeting this afternoon, into 2 potential calendars. There's a draft Burlington calendar, and then there's a Good Friday draft Burlington calendar. So the difference is one has Good Friday as a school day, one has Good Friday without having a school day. The teacher's contract right now prohibits professional development days on Fridays, but the parents were, when they asked what day would be best for them, they chose Friday. And I think part of the benefits of the Joint Labor Management Group is they really agreed to sort of some flexibility in a side letter agreement to honor that parent request. So again, you'll see that we spread out the days as was suggested, but you can see we moved the professional development days to Friday. That will require me to follow up with Patrick Murphy and the BEA about making sort of an exception to some of the contract language that exists. But again, the Joint Labor Management was in support of that. So again, I don't want to have any discussion tonight. It's not on the agenda, but we will have it. You'll have this information ahead of time, and if you have any questions or comments, we can certainly get you all that you need to make the final calendar decision in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. Anyone, I guess we don't want to have any questions until next time around. So I'll make sure it's an agenda item next time or time after next. Not sure when you want to have it. The next meeting?
Next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, so at this point, any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm in favor, 500. We are finished.